Hello connoisseurs, it's me, Ted, also known as Bro Nay. Tonight I'm keeping a bet with no stakes to cook stew for royalty, so snotty, so bratty, so privileged, so self-righteous, you would think she was part of the feminism movement. This princess is so pampered. Her servants eat her food for her, and then somehow the food magically transfers the nutrients to her. With that in mind, I am tasked with making a stew that takes next to no effort to eat, while still being delicious enough to appeal to her royal sensibilities. Let's get started. For this recipe, I took inspiration from Brock's Lazy Boy No Chew Stew from Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. The idea of a stew that required no effort to chew, it was perfect. I just needed to upgrade it for royalty, and one that was half bird, half cat, no less. So seafood was a no choice. Apologies to the original character Miranda that Mike acts out for the princess in another game. So the ingredients are as follows: 8 ounces of cooked shrimp pre-peeled and deveined, 2 pounds of cod, 2 pounds of russet potatoes, 4 carrots, 1 large red onion, 1 red bell pepper, 2 medium tomatoes, 2 yellow zucchini, cilantro, iodized salt, minced garlic, ground white pepper, and unsalted butter. So first things first, let's prep the ingredients. Wrong. First we wash our hands, you bunch of heathens. Now that that's done, let's get some water in our pots. Now let's go ahead and get the water boiling on the stove. I use a gas stove, so it gets set up pretty easily, but it doesn't matter which one you use, whether it be electric or gas. I set my gas stove so high that it would make Hitler blush. Some of these grains won't be messed with until they've been cooked, primary examples being the red bell pepper and the tomatoes. The tomatoes, we'll deal with those after they've been cooked, and they're like me in the summer, bright red and easily peeled. The other 2 ingredients that we won't mess with will be the cod and the shrimp. Those will be put directly into the water and be left to boil, and we'll make the primary how we make our stock and broth for the stew. So the first thing we'll work with will be the potatoes. I got a potato peeler, but you can use a knife if you want. And you'll just want to remove the skin as much as possible, make it look as clean on the inside, and remove as much of the outer as possible. Once you're done, you should have yourself a clean set of potatoes. You can take the skins and use those in a deep fryer and make potato skin fries. They're good. Next, we'll work on the carrots. You'll want to remove the green stalks on those before you work on the carrot itself. It makes it a lot easier to handle. I didn't mention the potatoes, but you got to wash the potatoes and the carrots before you get to work with them. Once that's done, you'll remove the ends off the carrots, and then you'll use the peeler to remove the outer shell of the carrot, so that way it looks a lot cleaner and doesn't have those hairs on the outside. Once the carrots have been properly skinned, you're going to want to start cutting those carrots into tiny little bite-sized slices. Be careful about cutting them too thick, or they'll need to be cooked longer, or it won't be that no-chew stew I promised. And there's a whole bowl of carrots ready to be used. Next, we'll work with the yellow zucchini. You're going to want to cut the end caps off these before you do the next part. Once again, they're not usable. Once you've done that, we're going to do something similar with the carrots and the potatoes. You're going to peel them off, this time though with the knife. The peeler really don't work well in this scenario. You just want to get as close to the outside of the skin as possible, and you can tell by just seeing a little yellow layer on the outside. You'll use that as your guiding line. Once the outside's complete, you'll very much just do the same thing as you did with the carrots. Cut these into thin slices. And that's how you'll get the zucchini you need for the soup. Next is a red onion. I chose red onion not only for its color, but for its stronger flavor, which will have a hard time trying to get through the soup if you would have chosen a lighter onion. Once you cut off the end pieces, you're going to want to score a line right down the side of it so you can peel out that outer layer, which is unusable. Once you remove the outer layer of that stew, you'll be ready to cut it. Now, what I used is an apple slicer to create some uneven cuts and to allow some of that diversity in the onion whenever it's in the stew. There you have it, red onions ready for the stew. Next we're going to work on cilantro. Now with cilantro, you have to be careful. Too much of this will completely ruin the stew. It's a very overpowering herb, and you only want to get so much of it. You'll want to tear off pieces of the leaves, and you're going to want to separate those, and then you'll go back and grab some of the stems. This helps break up the scent a little. You don't want to use this a whole lot, so this is going to be to taste. It takes practice. Then you'll bunch it up as much as possible, and that way it's easier to do this. And then you'll chop it up into small fine pieces. It doesn't have to be entirely fine, but you just want enough to where it spreads out through the soup. Like I said, be careful of putting too much into the stew. Now that all that prep is done, I had the tomatoes and the red pepper boiling. So then they've been in there long enough for us to peel the skin off. Be careful when getting these out there. They're going to be pretty darn hot. Something you'll notice that I kind of messed up on, and I'm going to point out now, is I left the core of the tomatoes there, which makes this a little bit harder than it had to. And whenever I went to remove the core, it made a lot more mess, which you will see in a little bit. Eventually, I did finally cut the cores out. Now you'll want to put the tomatoes in the bowl, and you don't want to tear them apart or make them in too fine pieces. They'll fall apart into the stew once it's done. You'll peel the red pepper, do the same thing, and you'll actually want to pair it in leaves. Water somehow got into the pepper, even though I didn't cut it before I cooked it, so more mess was made. Fun. Now you can see the peppers in here. They're not hot or anything, but they don't really add anything to this stew, so I didn't add that to them. You can keep them if you want. I see no purpose in it. Now with all the ingredients prepped, I've let the potatoes boil for a little bit so you can see they're hot, and you're just going to cut them into small bite-sized pieces. They won't fall apart in the stew thanks to them being russet potato and being of hardy nature. Now we've taken all the ingredients that we prepped and we add them to the stew. The fish and the shrimp have been boiling for quite a while, so now they've created a pretty nice broth for this all to be added in. Don't be afraid to get your hands into the mixture a little bit to get it into the stew. We want all of it. Once everything is all in, just give it a nice slow stir to mix it all up. Don't rush it, or you'll break apart the fish that's already inside them. Just make it into a slop. So you want to be gentle when stirring. Now it's time to add the unsalted butter. Now, not just 1 ounce, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not even 7, 8. We add a whole cup of butter to this stew. Now, I come from the country, so that's how this is done. There's no other reason to not put any other butter, but to each their own. Now for some minced garlic, to how much you want, that's up to taste. Next is some ground white pepper. I chose white pepper to keep with the theme of a clear stew. And add some salt. You don't have to add salt if you don't want to, but I do. It adds more flavor to it. Once all the other ingredients are in, you give it a nice gentle stir again, mixing it all in to suffuse the flavor. Now after letting it stew for a while, no pun intended, you'll see that some on the outside, you'll still see some buildup. I just call it scum. It's not bad for the soup, but for the fact that we're cooking this for royalty, we're going to want to put that off to help maintain the presence of a clean looking stew. Like I said, it's still edible, so I'm going to use it for something else. You'll have to remove more of it off later on as the stew continues. After you let the stew go for a little bit, you'll want to turn it off. I'm going to let the stew settle and lets more of those impurities to rise back up to remove the scumming, do the scumming again. Alright, after you've let the stew sit and you re-scummed it, it's ready to serve for royalty. It's perfectly good, ready to go. You can eat it right then and there, or you can have it sit on the stove or put it in the fridge until later use. Try.
Alright, so yeah, let me know. No chew. You don't even have to chew it.
It tastes good. Tastes like seafood. And the duck was just shrimp.
8 ounces of shrimp, 2 pounds of cod, 2 pounds of potatoes, 4 carrots, and everything else.
Oh, that's good. It tastes like a stew.
And like it's like even the potatoes like really soft. You don't. It's like very simple. Very simple.
Oh, it is perfect.
Judge like.